afternoon. I don't know whether my spelling is right. Let's just stop there. Anyways, it's love on a shattered ground. So I'm coming back. So I'm gonna wait till people join the live. I'll still just be saying some things and things, so that when people start joining, whether people join or not, I'm gonna start reading this thing. So we are actually taking from part one. This is part one, but it's supposed to be written in chapters. Forgive me, right? Till chapter 15. So that's what we are taking today. We may actually go further than that. So give me 1 minute, I'm coming. So I may actually read this thing like twice. Do you get this particular part one like twice because I want people to join me. Do you get so that people will not get lost? Josh came back from work, drained and tired. He walked straight into the bedroom to change. Sarah, his wife, rushed in after him, eager to help. Let me help you, honey, she said softly. Josh shook his head. No, I don't want you to stress yourself. Sarah smiled, thinking it was a kind gesture. She brightened up and said, I made your favorite. I made your favorite food. It's on the dining. Please come and eat. Josh only muttered, I've heard you, without even looking at her. Confused, Sarah went back to the kitchen, tidied a few things, then returned to the room. She tried again, forcing a cheerful tone. Honey, your food is waiting for you. Come and eat. This time, Josh looked at her and said flatly, I'm not interested. Her heart sank. Not interested? But I put all my effort into this food. Why, George? He gave her the cold, silent treatment and walked into the parlor. Instead of heading to the dining, Josh picked up his phone and placed an order from Mega Chicken. Minutes later, a delivery man knocked. Sarah was still waiting, hoping he would change his mind and test her food. She stepped outside to throw away some kitchen trash, and right there she froze. Josh was at the gate smiling faintly as he collected the food from the delivery man. Her hands trembled. Josh, when did you start eating outside? What about the food I cooked with love? Josh dropped the bag of food on the table, turned slowly to her face and sneered. Love? Which love? The only love I understand is the one that brings children. What you do is waste my money cooking useless meals. I'm pretending with romance that nothing I'm pretending with romance that doesn't yield anything. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. She could barely breathe from the weight of his words. Josh scoffed. If you want to cry, I can get you a bucket. I'm not surprised. You probably had 10 abortions before you thought of marrying me. It's written all over your womb. Before Sarah could respond, Josh's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then quickly stepped outside to answer. Sarah, shaken, followed him quietly. As she drew closer, she heard him pause, then say into the phone, I'll call you back. She's here. So as I said I'm gonna take this thing like twice, then we get to part two till we get to the end. I supposed to have written this in chapters. So initially I wanted to put it into like a movie form. Then I realized that it's gonna take me a very long time for me to put all these things. And I want to be writing like consistently, and I don't want anything that will come and sit down and taking me hours to put up stuff like this. So this is it. This is Love and Shattered Ground. That's the topic. I put it on my life. Josh came back from work, drained and tired. He walked straight into the bedroom to change. Sarah, his wife, rushed in after him, eager to help. Let me help you, honey, she said softly. Josh shook his head. No, I don't want you to stress yourself. Sarah smiled, thinking it was a kind gesture. She brightened up and said, I made your favorite food. It's on the dining. Please come and eat. Josh only muttered, I've heard you, without even looking at her. Confused, Sarah went back to the kitchen, tidied a few things, then returned to the room. She tried again, forcing a cheerful tone. Honey, your food is waiting for you. Please come and eat. This time, Josh looked at her and said flatly, I'm not interested. Her heart sank. Not interested? But I put all my effort into this food. Why, Josh? She gave her the coldest, he gave her the coldest silent treatment and walked into the parlor. Instead of heading to the dining, Josh picked up his phone and placed an order from Mega Chicken. Minutes later, a delivery man knocked. Sarah was still waiting, hoping he would change his mind and test her food. She stepped outside to throw away some kitchen trash, and right there she froze. Josh was at the gate, smiling faintly as he collected the food from the delivery man. Her hands trembled. Josh, when did you start eating outside? And what about the food I cooked with love? Josh dropped the bag of food on the table and turned slowly to her and snapped, Love? Which love? The only love I understand is the one that brings children. What you do is waste my money cooking useless meals and pretending with romance that doesn't yield anything. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. She could barely breathe from the weight of his words. Josh scoffed. If you want to cry, I can get you a bucket. I'm not surprised. You probably had 10 abortions before you thought of marrying me. It's written all over your womb. Before Sarah could respond, Josh, George's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then quickly stepped outside to answer. Sarah, shaken, followed him quietly. As she drew closer, she heard him pause, then say into the phone, I'll call you back. She's here. Okay, let's get to the next part. It's actually plenty. Sarah hides by the corner listening. Josh's tone is suddenly soft, even caring. She had never. Wait, oh. Okay. Sarah hides by the corner. Sorry for the glitch. Hides by the corner listening. Josh's tone is suddenly soft, even caring. This is actually Josh for this thing tone when he's talking to somebody on phone that we discussed in part one. She had never heard him speak like this to her in months. Baby, I told you, I'll take care of it. Don't worry, Josh says into the phone. Sarah gasps quietly, pressing her hands to her mouth. Baby, who is he calling baby? Josh turned suddenly, their eyes locked. For a moment, there was silence. Sarah's heart pounds like it will burst. Why are you following me, Sarah? Josh's voice is sharp, but his eyes, they look guilty. Sarah's voice trembles. Who? Who was that on the phone? Josh smirks and walks past her. That's none of your business. Just focus on your useless cooking. Sarah staggers back, tears blurring her vision. She goes inside, looks at the untouched food on the dining table and whispers, am I not enough? Then we are going to get to part three. Part three. Chapter 3. The night was heavy with silence. Sarah lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Beside her, Josh was fast asleep. So I'll be making some explanation as I'm doing this thing so that in case someone joins the live, the person will understand what I'm talking about. So at this point, Josh, they have finished the interrogation, asking who was that on the phone, and then this is actually the night when they are supposed to be sleeping. So this is what happened in part three. The night was heavy with silence. Sarah lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Beside her, Josh was fast asleep, his chest rising and falling in steady reading, but Sarah's mind refused to rest. Baby, I'll take care of it, don't worry. The words from Josh's phone call echoed in her head like a haunting song. She sat up slowly, her heart thudding, her eyes darted to the phone on the bedside table. Bumbling. Let me put a kind of music so that it to make it nice. Okay, let's get to part three. The night was heavy with silence. Sarah lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Beside her, Josh was fast asleep, but Sarah's mind refused. Baby, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. The words from Josh's phone called echoed in her head like a haunting song. She sat up slowly, her heart studying, her eyes darted to the phone on the bedside table, plugged in and charging. She hesitated, her fingers trembling, then whispered to herself, I have to know the truth. She reached for the phone with shaking hands. She unlocked it. Away from her, George hadn't changed his password. Scrolling through, she froze. There it was, a contact saved as business partner. But the messages, are blood ran cold. I miss you already. Don't worry, I'll handle Sarah. Just keep yourself sexy for me. Mega chicken, but I can't wait to text you again. Sarah's breath caught in her. She felt eyes on her slowly. She turned. Josh was standing by the doorway, his face shadowed, his voice low and dangerous. Sarah, what are you doing with my phone? Her whole body shook, slipped from her hands and landed on the bed with a thud. Josh, her voice broke. Who is she? Who were you calling baby? Why are you doing this to me? Josh stepped into the room, closing the door behind him with a slow, deliberate push. His lips curled into a cold smile. You really want to know? He asked. Sarah's heart pounded louder than ever. She swiped her tears, staring at him with both fear and anger. Tell me, Josh, she shouted, her voice cracking. Josh leaned closer, his eyes burning, and then he whispered something that shattered everything she thought she knew. Let's go get into part 4. So here's how the part 4 goes. Josh leaned so close that Sarah could feel his breath against her ear. His words were sharp. His words, his words were sharp, cruel, and deliberate. You were never my choice, Sarah. You were just convenient. Sarah's knee buckled. She staggered back, staring at him as if she turned into a stranger. Her lips trembled. Convenient? After everything I've given up for this marriage and all my sacrifices? George's laugh was cold. Sacrifice? What sacrifice? You think cooking tasteless food and crying every night is sacrifice? The woman I want, she gives me peace. Hmm. She gives me value. You are just dead weight. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. She clutched her chest as if trying to hold her heart together. Her voice broke. Her voice broke, but she forced the words out. So all this time it was her. The phone calls, the messages, the way you have been treating me. Josh, why didn't you just leave me? Why torture me like this? George's face hardened. Because leaving you would make you think you won. I'd rather watch you suffer while I live my real life. The words hit Sarah like bullets. Her sobs turned into silence, the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Then, with trembling hands, she picks up his phone and from the bed, she looks him dead in the eye. If you think I'm weak, Josh, you don't know me at all. Josh smiled. And what exactly will you do, Sarah? So, what do you think Sarah can do in this case? Okay, let's get into part 5. The next morning, Sarah's eyes were swollen from a night of silent tears. She stared at Josh as he buttoned his shirt, pretending nothing had happened. When he left for work, she picked up her scarf and whispered to herself, I'll speak to his mother. Maybe she can make him change. Maybe she will understand. Later that day, Sarah arrived at her mother's in-law's house. She knelt down at the door as tradition demanded. Mama, good afternoon, she said softly. Her mother-in-law looked up from where she was seated, her eyes narrowing. Sarah, what brings you here unannounced? Sarah's voice trembled, but she forced herself to be calm. Mama, please, talk to your son. He no longer treats me as a wife. I try, Mama. I cook, I respect him, but nothing is ever enough. Please, I'm begging you, help me. The old woman's face hardened. She leaned forward and hissed, Sarah, you come here to complain about my son? Instead of admitting you are the problem. Sarah's heart dropped. Mama, no. The mother-in-law slammed her walking stick on the ground. Shut. Do you think I don't know women like you? Lazy, ungrateful, probably barren. My son told me everything. You are the one destroying his life. Tears poured down Sarah's cheek. She fell to her knees, clutching to hem of the old woman's wrapper. Mama, please, I swear, I love him. I've never wronged him. Please believe me. But the woman yanked her wrapper away, standing tall with fury. Leave my house. If you want my advice, pack your things before it sends you away. My son deserves better than you. Sarah froze, still kneeling on the floor, her chest heaving. She thought she had come to find justice, but instead, she found a deeper wound. So here is part 6. Sarah left her mother's in-law house with her eyes swollen red, her body trembling. She grips the steering wheel of her car, whispering through tears, God, why? What did I do to deserve this? She drove slowly through the night. Every traffic light felt longer. Every horn from another car sounded like a mockery. By the time she got home, it was already past 10 p.m. It was already past 10 p.m. As she stepped into the compound, she froze. Josh's car was already parked. He was home before her. Her heart sank. She entered the living room, and there he was, sitting comfortably on the sofa, scrolling through his phone, a slight smile on his face. The moment he saw her, his voice cut through the silence. So, you went to see my mother, Abby? Sarah's leg went weak. Josh, I only. He slammed his hand on the table, making her flinch. Look at you, you useless woman. Do you think you can report me to my own mother? Do you think you have any power in this house? Even she told me about your nonsense. We laughed at you together. His laughter was sharp, cruel, piercing. Sarah's tears fell silently. Josh stood and walked up to her, towering over her fragile frame. You can't do anything. Nothing. You are stuck here. Look at you. Pathetic. Sarah whispered, broken. Josh, please. But he turned away, his voice dripping with scorn. Go out to the kitchen. Make pounded yam for me. I don't want that nonsense food you cooked earlier. You'll pound it fresh tonight. Sarah grabs. But you rejected my food. You said it was useless. So imagine the husband wants her to prepare pounded yam in the night. Let's get to part 7 and see what goes on there. The pounding from last night still echoed in Sarah's The pounding from last night still echoed in Sarah's hands. Her palms were sore, her back ached, but she had no choice. By the time Josh finished his late night feast, he leaned back on the sofa, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. By tomorrow morning, he said lazily, before I wake up, I want mashed potatoes with egg sauce. If I don't meet it on dining, you will see the other side of me. Sarah's throat tightened. She nodded slowly. Yes, Josh. When she finally lay on the bed, it was almost 2 a.m. Her eyes closed, heavy with tears and exhaustion. The next morning, Sarah woke with a start. The sun had already risen. She had overslept. Her eyes flew to the clock, 7:15 a.m. Her heart skipped. She had a presentation at work. As an accountant, she couldn't afford to mess this one up. But Josh's word from last night rang in her head. She rushed into the kitchen, still in her nightgown, and began peeling potatoes with trembling hands. The clock ticked louder and louder. She finally wiped up the smashed potatoes on egg sauce, barely tasting the seasoning. Breathless, she carried the food to dining just as Josh came out of the bedroom, adjusting his tie. Here, honey, she said weakly, your breakfast is ready. Josh sat down, looked at the food, then pushed the plates away with disgust. What is this trash? Sarah froze. But it's mashed potatoes with egg sauce, exactly what you asked for. Josh stood, his voice sharp. Do you think I don't know the difference between proper food and nonsense? This is rubbish. You can't even get a simple thing right. Sarah's lip trembled. She wanted to explain, to beg, but her phone buzzed suddenly. It was a reminder, presentation at 9 a.m. She panicked. Josh, I have to go. I have a presentation today. Please, I can't be late. Josh glared at her. So your useless job is more important than your husband now. Sarah's heart pounded as she picked up her bag. torn between staying to argue and rushing for her career. Josh's voice followed her out the door. Go ahead. But remember, this house is mine. The day I decide you're no longer useful, you'll be out on the streets. Let's go to part 8. Sarah walked into the conference room, clutching her laptop, and files tighter than usual. Sarah walked into the conference room, clutching her laptop and files tighter than usual. Her colleagues were already seated, waiting. As she connected to the projector, her palms trembled. She told herself, Sarah, you can do this. But halfway through her slides, Josh's words from the last night before echoed in her head. You can't do any fucking thing. You are useless. You waste my money cooking trash. Her voice faltered for a moment. She quickly adjusted, forcing a smile, but her hands quickly shook as she clicked through the slides. One or two colleagues exchanged glances, noticing her unease, but no one could quite place that was wrong. But no one could quite place what was wrong. To them, it was just nerves. But to Sarah, every word of the presentation felt like a war between her broken spirits and her professional duty. Still, she pushed through, determined not to let Josh's voice win in this room. By the end, the board gave her polite applause. Some even smiled warmly at her. Yet, as Sarah sat down, her heart was heavy. The world had just seen a glimpse of her pain, though they couldn't understand its source. As she packed up things, her phone buzzed. A message from Josh lit up the screen. I want homemade pizza tonight, and you are going to make it in front of me. Just mess this one up the way you mess the mashed potatoes, and you will see what happens. Sarah froze, her hands tightening around her phone. She swallowed hard, realizing her day of torment was far from over. Let's get to part 9. Sarah rushed home, still in her office clothes. She dropped her bag on the couch and headed straight to the kitchen. Her hands trembled as she mixed the flour, yeast, and water. She had never made homemade pizza before, but tonight, failure wasn't her option. Please let me change the music background, I'll be back. Past 9, Sarah rushed home, still in her office clothes. She dropped her bag on the couch and headed straight to the kitchen. Her hands trembled as she mixed the flour, yeast, and water. She never made homemade pizza before, but tonight, failure wasn't an option. As the dough rose, she prepared the toppings with shaky precision. Every sound, the knife against the cutting board, the oven time ticking, felt louder than normal. Sweat rolled down her forehead. Finally, she placed the hot pizza in front of Josh at the dining table. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, watching her like a hunter studying his prey. Josh took a bite. He chewed slowly, his expression unreadable. Then he smiled. You think this is food? You think this is good? You think this is food? You think this is good? This is good enough? Sarah's heart raced. She had put every ounce of herself into the meal. Josh wiped his mouth, then looked up at her coldly. Go to the room, lie down naked, and wait for me. Her stomach turned. She wanted to refuse, but fear pinched her legs to the ground slowly. She obeyed. Minutes later, Josh walked in. There were no gentle touches, no warmth, He claimed he claimed her body roughly. He claimed her body roughly. That's a mistake. It's supposed to be claimed. Like property, leaving her staring blankly at the ceiling, willing herself not to cry. When it was over, he rolled over the bed and laughed cruelly. You call that satisfaction? You can't even please a man, useless, even in bed. Sarah's eyes stung. She stayed silent. Josh stood up, buttoned his shades, grabbed his car keys, and smiled at her one last time. Watch how a real woman takes care of a man. He slammed the door behind him, leaving Sarah broken, knowing he was heading straight to another woman right after using and humiliating her. So we are getting to part 10. The house was silent after Josh slammed the door. Sarah sat motionless on the bed, her hair tangled, her blouse wrinkled, her dignity shattered. She clutched the bedsheet to her chest, rocking slowly as if it's trying to hold herself together. For the first time, she let the sobs come freely. The sound of her own crying echoed through the empty room. His words replied in her head like a curse. You can't even place a man. Useless. Sorry, let me change the sound of this. I don't know why this thing keeps on giving me different stuff. Let me start from everything. Okay, let's start from the beginning of part 10. The house was silent after Josh slammed the door. Sarah sat motionlessly on the bed, her hair tangled, her blouse wrinkled. Her dignity shattered, she clutched the bedsheet to her chest, rocking slowly as if trying to hold herself together. For the first time, she let the sobs come freely. The sound of her own crying echoed through the empty room. His words replayed in her head like a curse. You can't even place a man. Useless. She stood up shakily, walked to the mirror, and stared at herself. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes swollen. But what hurt her most was the way she no longer recognized the woman staring back. Is this me? Is this my life? She whispered. Her voice cracked as she spoke to her reflection, almost like she does not accept surrogacy. I have attempted IVF 3 times and still no child. God, is this the end of my life? Tears streamed down her cheeks again. She felt like the walls were closing in, the silence pressing on her chest. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, a notification from the office group chat. Reminder, Sarah, don't forget your presentation summary for tomorrow morning. We are counting on you. She froze. The world outside didn't know today. She was still Sarah, the smart accountant. Dependable and professional. Sarah wiped her face, dragged herself to a bathroom, and splashed cold water on her cheeks. She whispered against the reflection, You must survive this. You must. Just as she steadied herself, the sound of a car pulling up in the driveway made her heart stop. Josh was back, barely an hour later. Let's go to the next part. Suddenly, she froze. The similar sound of the gate creaking open reached her ears. Tires screeched slightly as Josh's car pulled in. Her heart pounded faster. She wasn't expecting him so soon. He had just left less than an hour ago. Why is he back? She thought, panic rising in her chest. Minutes later, she heard the car door slammed. His heavy doorsteps echoed through the corridor, slow and deliberate, like a predator closing in on its prey. The front door clicked open, then shut with a bang. Sarah's whole body trembled. She quickly wiped her tears, sat up on the bed, and tried to steady herself breathing. But her hands betrayed her, shaking uncontrollably. Josh pushed the bedroom door open with force. He stood there, leaning on the frame, his shirt still undone. The smell of alcohol mixed with another woman's perfume, filling the air. As Mike coughed his lips, crying, wasting your time again. His voice was cold, cutting through like a blade. Sarah swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. Josh! He raised a hand sharply. Shut up! His eyes burned with rage. Do you think your tears will give me a child? Do you think your tears will make you a wife? He tossed his case onto the table, the metal clanging loudly in silence. Get on the bed now. His knees went weak. She obeyed, lying down as ordered, her heart screaming but her mouth sealed. Josh walked over, unbuckling his belt. He didn't touch her with love, didn't speak with care. He simply climbed her, taking her with roughness and no regard. Every thrust felt like punishment, every breath like a reminder of her helplessness. When it was over, he rolled over with disgust. Useless woman, you can't even satisfy me. He spat the words out as if they tasted bitter. That's why I go outside. At least another woman know how to place a man. Sarah turned her face to the wall, tears rolling silently. Josh stood, buttoning his shirt. I'm leaving. Don't wait up. He picked up his case and stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The silence was followed was deafening. Sarah curled up on the bed, clutching her pillow. Then suddenly her phone buzzed on the side table. She hesitated, wiped her tears and for it and trembling with trembling ha- reached for it with trembling hands. Her breath caught when she saw the caller ID. It was her mother. Let's get to the next part. But before I get to the next part, which is part 12, let me bring down the let me change music, sorry. Because this one is not music. It's my write-ups. What do you think? Let me start deleting some of this 11 lab stuff. I'll be back. The phone kept ringing on the nightstand. Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and picked it up, her voice weak. Hello, Sarah, my daughter. Her mother's voice came through, trembling, shaken. I just woke up from a terrible nightmare and it was about you. Sat up slowly. Her chest tightening. Mama, what's happened? Her mother's breathing was uneven, as if she had been crying. In the dream, I saw you, Sarah. You were walking, carrying books in your hands. Then suddenly someone shot you in the neck. You fell to the ground. The books scattered everywhere, fluttering in the wind. People around you began to run away, as if you were a stranger. Nobody stayed to help. Her voice cracked and she continued. The sky turned dark. The clouds were changing, twisting, like the whole world was falling apart. I screamed your name, but my voice couldn't reach you, Sarah. It felt so real, so real. Sarah pressed her palm to her chest, her eyes filling with tears. Mama, she whispered, unable to find words. Her mother sniffled. My daughter, you know I have only you. You and your brother. Please stay alive for me. Don't let this marriage or anything else destroy you. I can't lose you, Sarah. Promise me. Please promise me. Sarah's throat burned as she forced the words out. I promise, Mama. Good. Call me in the morning. Her mother said softly, almost begging, and Sarah, remember, life may be hard, but it's still yours. Don't give it up for anyone. The line waits there. Sarah sat on the bed for a long time, clutching the phone to her chest. Her tears soaked the pillow as her mother's words echoed in her mind. That night stretched endlessly. That night stretched endlessly. Josh never returned. The next morning, Sarah dragged herself to the office. Her body was there, but her spirit felt drained. She stared at her laptop, paralyzed, while emails and projects piled up. Hours passed until Hours passed until Tina, a colleague, walked over, frowning. Sarah, what's going on? You have 4 projects pending and you haven't touched any of them. You look pale, distracted. Please talk to me. Sarah hesitated. Then her lips trembled. Tina, this is what I'm going through in my marriage. Piece by piece, she poured out her pain. The rejections, the insults, the failed IVF attempts, the nights of silence. Tina held her and gently, Sarah, listen to me. Even when you fail, you try again. You fall, you rise. You fall again, you rise again. But your health must come first. Please go see a gynecologist again. Don't give up on yourself. Sarah nodded, her tears quietly falling. That evening, as she walked home, her mother's dream kept replaying in her mind. For the first time in months, she began to make plans for herself. She will call the clinic. She will take that step. Let's get to part 13. Days turned into nights, but Josh never came home. Sarah called again and again, but her phone only gave her silence in return. He didn't answer. He didn't text back. So let me just put a little bit word here. You know that Josh left the house for days. So this is Sarah calling him. With heavy eyes, she remembered her mother's words and Tina's advice. She booked an appointment with a gynecologist. At the hospital, Sarah sat across from the doctor. Her fingers nervously twisting the strap of her handbag. Mrs. Josh, the gynecologist began gently. A medical file. We have run all the tests again. You are healthy in many ways, but the truth remains the same. It will be difficult for you to carry a pregnancy yourself. Sarah's breath caught. Her hands trembled. The doctor continued. Surrogacy is the safest option if you really want a child. Another woman would carry the pregnancy for you. It's the only way forward. Sarah whispered, but my husband, both of you would come together next time, the doctor said. He needs to understand the benefits and why this is necessary. You shouldn't carry this burden alone. Sarah nodded weakly, her heart sinking. She knew Josh would resist. By the time she returned home, the weight of her situation pressed down on her like a heavy stone. She opened the front door and froze. Sitting in the living room, legs crossed and eyes sharp, was Josh's mother. Sitting in the living room, legs crossed and eyes sharp, was Josh's mother. Good afternoon, Mama, Sarah said softly, bowing her head. Her mother-in-law didn't smile. Afternoon. Where are you coming from, eh? Hospitals again? She shook her head, voice cold. Sarah, I warned my son about you. A woman who cannot give a family a child is a curse, not a blessing. Sarah's chest tightened. She opened her mouth to explain, but Mama cut her off. You are wasting his time. 3 years of marriage, nothing to show for it. Do you know how many young women out there are praying to marry my son? And he is stuck with you. Empty hands, empty womb. Sarah's hand shook as she clutched her handbag tighter. Just then, Josh walked in. He stopped at the door, smirking faintly. But it was Mama who spoke now, her voice sharper than ever. What are you still doing here? She demanded, eyes blazing at Sarah. Don't tell me you want to cry. Get into the kitchen and prepare something for my son because he's very tired and hungry. Grandchildren, you cannot give me. As a wife to my son, you cannot do your job. What's your function? Sarah froze, her heart sinking, tears welled in her eyes, but her lips were sealed. She looked at the floor, knowing that the battle ahead would be longer and crueler than anything she had faced before. Okay, let's get to part 14. Sarah's leg felt like lead as she moved towards the kitchen. Each step echoed in the silent house, reminding her that she had no ally here, neither her husband nor her mother-in-law. Her hands trembled as she opened the fridge, pulling out ingredients she had cooked countless times for Josh, but today every motion felt heavier, more exhausting. The anger and the humiliation from her mother-in-law's words burned in her chest, and her eyes stung with tears. She refused to let fall. Chop the onions and don't take forever. Her mother-in-law's voice called from the living room. Imagine when you are cooking and then you're already tired and you're stressed. And then even your husband is stressing you, your mother-in-law is stressing you, and then all of a sudden someone is telling you there's in the kitchen. Chop the onions and don't take forever. How will you feel? Let's get into another line. Yes, Mama, Sarah whispered, even when oh god. Her voice hollow. She placed the knife on the cutting board and began, but her mind drifted. 3 IVF attempts, months of pain, all for nothing. Her hands shook as she chopped the vegetables, tears dropping onto the cutting board. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a shaky breath. Josh's footsteps approached the kitchen. He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, watching her silently, making it faster. I'm hungry. Make it faster, I'm hungry, he said finally, his tone casual but sharp, as if every word was meant to remind her of her place. Sarah didn't respond. She only nodded, forcing herself to focus on the chopping. Her heart raced, and her mind spun with storm of emotions, fear, anger, sadness, and a flicker of determination. One day, I'll make them see me. All of them, but not today, she thought, biting her lip to hold back her sobs. She continued cooking, her movements robotic, but inside, a quiet, burning resolve began to take a root. By the time the meal was ready, the house smelled of roasted meat, sauteed vegetables, and spices. Josh moved to the seat at the dining table, but Sarah didn't look at him. The mother-in-law walked past her, giving her a sharp glance, and Sarah felt the weight of her judgment pressing on her like a stone. She placed the plates carefully on the table. Her hands were trembling, but inside, a small flame had been lit. A realization that she could not continue like this forever. As she stepped back from the table, the camera or the audience view could almost sorry. That one is not in place, I bet. She placed the plates carefully on the table. Her hands were trembling, but inside a small flame had been lit, a realization that she could not continue like this forever. Let's get to part 15. Mm, 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 Let's get to part 15. The three of them sat around the dining table. The smell of food filled the air, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. Josh picked up his plate. Mama Josh watched Sarah like a hawk. Sorry, let me start again. The three of them sat around the dining table. The smell of food filled the air, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. Josh picked up his plate. Mama Josh watched Sarah like a hawk, and Sarah herself barely touched her food, her hands shaking slightly. Finally, she mustered the courage to speak. Josh, Mama, I went to see the gynecologist yesterday. He said that if we really want to have a child, we might need to consider surrogacy. I I would like you to come with me for the next appointment so we can discuss it together. Just pause and mid bites. Look at her. Eyes narrowing. He scoffed. Surrogacy? What kind of nonsense are you talking about at the table? You want me to drag myself into your shame? Before Sarah could respond, Mama, Josh leaned forward, her voice sharp and cutting through the air. Visit what? There is no more gynecologist visit, I told you. My son will not go and get another. My son will go. Sorry, let me edit something. My son will go and get another woman to carry a child for you. For him, useless woman. For you, useless woman. Abby? Sorry. That's a mistake. My son will not go and get another woman to carry a child for you, useless woman. Sarah's heart pounded. Mama, what do you mean? You want your son to go get another person too? Instead of my son doing that nonsense, he will go and marry a woman who is fertile. Mama snapped, slamming her hand lightly on the table for emphasis. Because you cannot give me grandchildren. You cannot even fulfill your duty as his wife. What is your function? Josh Falk clattered against the table. He leaned back smirking. What do you think I wanted to do before? I am planning to get a second wife. That is my plan. Or what do you want? Do you want a divorce? If you cannot stay as a first wife and save my second wife and me, then say it now. Make your choice. So as I said, we are going to stop at part 15. I don't know how many people are watching or whether people are watching me at all. But this is my first time of doing this kind of storytelling on my life, and I promise I'm going to improve. So you guys please subscribe, watch, read to what I'm showing you guys. I love you. See you guys later. Hey. I still have other parts. In fact, I'm still writing other parts. But let's stop there.